Welcome back to our final episode on Nicholas Kassotis. I'm Tab, and this is The Alternate. This case truly was stranger than fiction, and the judge put it best when he said he was living out one of his fiction stories, he meaning Nick Kassotis. The day began with jury instruction, and then they went back to deliberate and get to work. And as expected, guess what? In just over an hour, barely, like I think an hour and 12 minutes, the jury came back and gave a guilty verdict on all counts.
State of Georgia versus Nicholas James Kassotis. Count 1, malice murder, guilty. Count 2, felony murder, guilty. Count 3, aggravated assault, guilty. Count 4, concealing death of another, guilty. Count 5, possession of a knife during the commission of a felony, guilty. Count 6, possession of a tool for the commission of a crime, guilty. Count 7, possession of a tool for the commission of a crime, guilty. Count 8, possession of a tools for the commission of a crime, guilty. Count 9, possession of a tool for the commission of a crime, guilty. Count 10, possession of tools for the commission of a crime, guilty. Count 11, removal of the body parts from the scene of the death, guilty. Count 12, tampering with evidence, guilty. On this 14th day of August 2025.
That's right. He is looking at 3 different options: death penalty, life without parole, or life with parole. Well, prosecution asked for life without parole, and defense asked to spare his life due to the fact that he is a well-educated man and he served for our country. Part of me thinks, doesn't that make this crime feel even worse? I mean, this guy is supposed to protect and serve, not dismember people and murder them. The judge wasted no time deciding that sentencing would be immediate, and victim impact statements were actually ready to go. We had just a few people speak today, one being Mindy's friend Morgan Paddock. You remember she testified against Nick. She was Mindy's very best friend, and her impact statement was really sad. She said, I lived next door, or not next door, but she lived in walking distance to Mindy, had no idea that she was basically taken from everybody, scared to death for her life because of Nick's lies, and that haunts her every day. Then next came actually somebody came in place. A friend of Nick's ex-wife came in place of her to read the victim impact statement. We've seen that before. And she said, that every single day she's terrified of what could have been. And girl, I am with you. She kind of looked like Mindy. She was Nicholas's next wife right after Mindy, and who knows what this guy was capable of if he was to get away. And then Mindy's sister-in-law, you remember her. She was the one, she didn't testify, her husband Frank did, but she was the one that Mindy and Nick lived with for a year and a half. Megan is her name, and she gave a great impact statement, and I want to play it for you now.
All right. I've kept up with the entire trial and decided to drive 3 hours this morning to be here because I couldn't let this chapter of my life end without at least saying something. Unlike you, I have cried a lot over the last few weeks. My thoughts, anxiety, and emotions have been a roller coaster. They have been all over the place. while having to deal with this trial. I go through anger, sadness, frustration, grief, stress, and every feeling that you can think of. You lived with us for 15 months with providing no financial contributions. 15 months that I will never be able to get back. At times when you lived with us, I told you how your actions had affected me, and this impact statement isn't much different. Whether you take away anything from this, that is not my intention at this point. You've shown no guilt and absolutely no remorse. You haven't even shed a tear. You thrive on the illusion of power and attention. You're a pathological liar, sociopath, psychopath, murderer. You thought you were so much smarter than everyone else, but you aren't. You wanted people to believe you were a victim of abuse, while you were the one being abusive, at least mentally. You have forever changed the meaning of trust for me and our family. I can no longer trust people in the same way as I did before you continuously lied and ultimately took Mindy's life. There will always be some questions that will go unanswered, but to answer them would mean to try to understand a murderer's mindset, and that is one I will never understand. Mindy was bright, beautiful, empathetic, confident, independent. She loved music and making others feel special. She always put her family and friends first. Once my husband Frank and I had our daughter, Mindy wanted to choose a name that was different than the traditional aunt name. She decided on Lulu. She was never able to hear her sweet niece call her that. My daughter was 5 months old when y'all moved in. She will never know the fun times they experienced together. I'm thankful my daughter does not remember the 15 months you lived with us and sat right next to her at the dinner table. My daughter will never be able to experience the love her Aunt Mindy would have continued to give her. Mindy was taken too soon. No one should have to live through the violent and gruesome murder of a family member. You're a very evil man. When I learned the news of what really happened to Minnie, some of my first thoughts were that I couldn't believe that evil man lived in my house, in a bedroom next to my 5-month-old daughter. You have no remorse for what you did. This loss has impacted so many beyond our family. The emotional wound you have caused will never heal. We have comfort knowing she is in heaven now, free from the trials and scars of this earth. We have overcome hatred, darkness, and evil. She is looking down on us now, being proud of how we have overcome. We are done being victims. We are taking back our lives. Since I'm a science person, I'm going to quote Isaac Newton. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. Our family believes you deserve the maximum sentence, life without the possibility of parole, because Mindy doesn't have a parole. You deserve to sit in prison for the rest of your life and think about Mindy every single day. Thank you, Your Honor.
Then Nicholas's turn to have character witnesses come up, and you wouldn't believe it, but both of his parents testified for him. Like, what? These are the people you remember that he said weren't really his parents, hasn't talked to them in years, totally ghosted them, and said his dad beat the shit out of him in a parking lot. But these two are so, I mean, they're cuckoo-cuckoo. They actually believe that he's innocent. And I really think they do. His mom even said to the jury, you got it wrong. I have to play them both for you because you're just not going to believe it.
Heard a lot of things in this courtroom this morning. Last over 2 years have been hell for all of us, including Nicholas. Although I don't agree with the verdict that was reached in this court, that the jury reached, I do respect the process. They have no idea who Nicholas was. Nicholas is a kind, gentle man that has touched thousands of lives, both as a civilian and as a military person. Nobody saw pictures of him helping underprivileged children in South America as a naval officer. Nobody saw him helping friends as he was growing up. He is truly a wonderful, kind person. And from the beginning, when this all broke, from the lies that Agent Sand told to family members, we never believed that this was possible, and we still do not believe that this is possible. We know the person sitting there, our son, as a kind and gentle person that would not do this. And there's really no evidence that showed that he did. I just want you to be considerate and look at the man who he is and who always will be. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Kassotis. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Your Honor, I would like to say first how incredibly sorry we are for Mindy's family that they had to go through this. We have never spoken since we heard the news of Mindy's death, but we feel incredible sympathy for them that they lost their daughter. But Nicholas was not responsible for this. We know him to be a kind and gentle person. As you know from the testimony, we had not been in touch with him for years through circumstances beyond our control, and every member of our family suffered as a result of that. People missed him so desperately. My mother said she had never gone a Christmas without seeing or hearing from him, and suddenly he was gone from our lives and we had no idea why. He is a good and kind and gentle person. The thought that he could take someone else's life is just unbelievable, honestly. I respect the jury's work that they did, but they got this one wrong. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then it was Nicholas's turn to speak. And guess what this douche canoe did? He finally took his right to remain silent. I didn't even think he could remain silent. And that is gross to me. You don't even want to apologize. You don't even want to say anything. No, he didn't. He just sat there and said absolutely nothing. And so the judge said, okay, stand. Let's give you your sentence. And it was no surprise at all that the judge saw right through him. And this is what he had to say.
Mr. Kassotis, a jury of 12 citizens in Liberty County, Georgia, has now determined beyond a reasonable doubt that you are guilty of the offense of murder, along with 11 other counts. This jury has spoken very clearly. It is now my duty under the law to impose a sentence that is consistent with that verdict. And it's also my duty to look at the evidence and weigh the sufficiency of that evidence. And sir, the evidence in this case is supported by a mountain of compelling evidence. This case has revealed a level of depravity that truly shocks the conscience. To put together this elaborate scheme, this web of lies, creating this fictional character, Jim McIntyre, who does not exist. You wrote fiction, and your life was a fiction, at least the last 6 or 7 years. And then you carried out, or the evidence shows that you carried out a brutal, horrific, gruesome murder of Mindy, someone who's been described by various witnesses as beautiful, kind, loving, vibrant, smart. And all of her hopes and dreams vanished in an instant. Her life tragically cut short by you. Someone who professed to love her, to care for her. Just the ultimate betrayal. And then you desecrated her body in such a vile way, discarding her remains out in a rural area of Liberty County, hoping that they would never be discovered. This shows beyond all doubt that you have no conscience. When I described to this jury this morning the elements of the crime of malice murder, the language used in the Georgia statute is that the circumstances show an abandoned and malignant heart. That describes you.
So bye-bye, Nick. Hope justice finds you in the clink. And that wraps up this trial. Thank you for hanging in there and going down this wild road with us. And until next time, think like a juror and decide like one too. Clink, clink. And I'm trying to get a very special guest on our Patreon. So if you want to go to patreon.com/the alternate. Sorry, my throat is having a problem tonight. Then I know somebody very close to this case, and I'm trying to get her on to speak. I'm not going to give her name because maybe she doesn't even want to tell us her name, but it's going to be wild. So I suggest you find us on Patreon. All right. Until then, have a wonderful, wonderful day, and a clink, clink.